Straw Hut Media.
We're better together with Ann and Heather.
You're about to hear another fun episode with Jason Tartick. He's such a doll.
It's so fun to say that finances can be fun with Jason Tartick. We went everywhere from dating, which is a story about
Find out
me,
why
which-
Ann is taking the red eye to New York.
That's just an extra bonus that you're going to get to hear. But on this show, we go back into budgeting. We talk about budgeting. We talk about taxes in a really amazing
Super
way.
fun.
We also talk about partnerships
and the value of partnerships.
And the value of partnerships.
How the money earner sometimes will hold that over the person who makes less or the stay-at-home mom, and the ramifications of that.
Yes, and how we come together as partners when we really look honestly, sit across from another and tell the truth about what it is, who we are, and making agreements about that plan, whether it's financial, emotional, or sexual. In this case, when you listen to Jason Tartick coming up next.
Don't forget about the game we played.
Oh, over,
That
under.
was shocking.
Did I win or did you? I don't know. Ryan lost.
We do know that Ryan lost, but shocking statistics about Americans and our spending.
You're going to want to play this game with us, folks. Get out your pens or pencils or your thumbs up and thumbs down and play this with us with Jason Tartick. Everybody, welcome back. Here we are at Better Together with Jason Tartick. We're better with Jason. How are you doing this week, Jason?
I am doing so well. It's been a lot of traveling lately, but I'm finally back home with the two dogs, and life is good.
And
how are you guys doing?
Where's your lovely lady these days? Is she traveling? Is she off hosting a show?
She is. She's in California working on a nice little project. So
well, that must mean that we're going to be able to visit with you here in California and take you out to some fun places and get you some buffalo wings here, California style.
that would be awesome. Count me in for that. Let's make that happen.
So, Jason, kind of an amazing thing happened this week, and we thought we would bring you in on it. And sometimes on our show, we do something called In the Moment. And in the moment, there was a huge dating thing that happened for me this week. And because you are the best bachelor, we thought that maybe we would share it with you. Would that tickle your fancy if I'd shared with you my joining of Raya this week?
She figured out how to join Raya.
I want to hear all about this. Tell me about it.
First of all, she calls me and says, I joined Riot. I'm like, how in the world did you figure out how to do that on your own? I couldn't believe it.
That's amazing.
Well, I don't know, but listeners who are listening, Raya is a dating
At least you're calling
app.
it Raya. You've been calling it
Rayan or something.
Rayon.
Rayan.
I joined
I couldn't
Rayon.
join it. I didn't know what it was called. So I've been very I've never joined a dating app or anything else, and I think the reason that I joined this Raya thing is because everyone's saying, "Oh, it's an industry dating app," whatever that means.
Yeah.
But I do know that the dating app that Heather joined for the last 6 months, she's gotten me 0 dates. So I figured I should get on my own here. I should do something a little bit more, put an engine behind it, and get on some Raya.
I joined Bumble for you with your
joined
pictures and everything. But it was like, you're not going to go out on a date with these people we don't know.
Okay, well,
So Raya is like the one that's when you're verified, right?
Yes, but
So have you met anyone? How's it going? I'm curious.
I can join, but I would get set up with like the grips and the lighting department. When Ann joins, she's like clearly the top tier level because within an hour. What happened?
No, well, it's not within an hour. I have to tell you, it is amazing. First of all, technologically, that I did join something. Heather has cut me off from my own Instagram. Like, I can't go and post anything. But what I have to say is when you think about something that's like an interesting industry dating app, like, by the way, gross, and I know that people are listening, you just want to go, oh my God, barf, is there really an industry dating app? Yes, there is. I'm going to tell you, I'm as grossed out by it as you are.
I haven't even looked at the profile.
However,
I have to see the profile.
I put a picture of Heather and me, I put my most natural picture of Heather and me, like we're in Savannah, I'm sweaty, I have my baseball cap on, and I'm kind of side, and then I have a picture of you and me. I'm like, people are going to think I'm such a dork. Yes, I do. And I was like, I want to do it this way because, by the way, anybody can look up Ann H. And by the way, you can look up any, photography that has been retouched and everything else of me. Oh, great, here's a cover of my magazine. But you know what I look like when I'm going around with my girlfriend in Savannah? I look like this. And so it was amazing, that I connected. My biggest fear was, I have to tell you, because I can tell that people have been, all you hear about Rye is that people get rejected. Here's the thing that I admire about myself, and I'll just pat myself on the back. When I think that I can walk into failure, I do it anyway. And I was really
You
nervous.
thought they were going to reject you?
I did. I was like, why didn't Heather get me on Raya? First of all, if that's industry people, and of course that is people that I should be, meeting most likely. I'm a fairly successful person, so that makes sense in terms of dating. What I didn't understand is how much sense it would make. And what happened was, I'm getting a little butterflies. I'm like, I'm a 52-year-old woman. I'm going on my first dating site. I'm putting up a stupid ass picture of me because I want people to understand that I have a sense of humor, and also that I'm going to show you who I am because I'm done lying with this shit. My biggest fear is that they're going to go, nope, right? So I'm typing in Anne H and blah, 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 blah. Like, what are you going to say? I'm an actress. An hour later, I get this thing on my phone. Now, by the way, it's 3:00 in the morning at this moment. So I get a thing on my phone saying, welcome to Raya. Now I'm dying. I'm like, what the fuck? I'm going to look up what I think is like, but I don't know how to work the app. And there's a lot of like young girls being like, seriously, like 25-year-old women. I'm like, what is the closest guy that they're setting me up with is a 22-year-old from Florida who's a female. Like, what's going on? So apparently you have to start looking at things, and as you start,
did you choose gender?
No, you can't choose gender. You don't. Anyways, you probably can, but I didn't know that part. But through the algorithms, right? Another word that I've learned this week, like algorithms is everywhere. I'm watching Too Hot to Handle. I'm watching The Bachelorette. I'm watching your reruns, Jason. I'm like, Jesus Christ, I want to find out what this dating shit is all about. Basically, it's like, let me throw myself to the wind and see what the fuck happens. So this, apparently you get messages and you can message somebody. Well, after about 3 hours of me trying to scan and see if I could do anything, I finally do go to bed. And I get up in the morning and I have a message. And it is from a man whose name, tell him.
Well, I don't know. You might not know who it is, and we're probably going to bleep out the name.
We are going to bleep out the name. Jesus Christ, I'm going to go visit him this weekend. We're not going to tell what his name is.
Let's go.
No, but listen, Jason, we're wasting.
She's flying to New York on the red eye.
Now listen, my children and Heather's children, basically, the people who care about me in my life have chosen Heather to pick my next love because I do a really bad job. Okay. So her way of doing that is abstinence, makes the heart grow. Really fucking horny, because 6 months later, I'm like, can we get a date anytime soon?
He's flying her out to the Hamptons.
We're not going to have any more personal finance calls after that all works out.
Listen, Jason, please, God. So I haven't, for anybody who was listening, I have been the breadwinner for my family since I was 12 years old. I have never been flown by anybody.
That is such bullshit.
What are you talking about?
Wait,
flown
Aaron,
on a date? I've never met the guy.
I want to hear this. Like, so when he's flying you out, like, well, tell me about the whole thing. How did the fly out happen? Did he say like, oh, I got to get you out here? Come on.
No, he said, we were texting.
This all happened yesterday.
This is yesterday.
Wow.
She's flying out.
I joined at 3:00 the day before yesterday, and then yesterday I got a date. I'm like, this Ryan thing is really fucking hot. Now, here's the thing. He said, and I swear to God, it's like being a little kitten. He's like, you know what? Yours was the first.
Or a big hoe.
A big fat hoe. I said I'm like a call girl. That's why I say to everyone, like, are you really asking me to come? He says, do you ever come to New York? I'm like, yes, I do, especially when I'm invited. He's like, you're invited. I was like, oh my God, I'm 52. I'm acting like a teenage call girl. Hooker. Well, I'm like, I'm backing, but anyways, like, I don't know. What's your advice, Jason? I want your love advice.
So when are you going?
On the red eye on Friday night.
He's
giving you the downstairs.
Am I starting to panic? I'm breathing heavy, and
he's giving you the downstairs of his.
Of what he calls a little shack in Southampton.
There are no little shacks.
Exactly. He said it's 4 bedrooms upstairs, and my friends are staying in the suite. I'm like, oh, good. So you're putting me downstairs so that I don't mess up your room. And obviously, he's like, let's just both be safe. We might not. We might not want to have sex.
He sent pictures of the shack. I'll show you, Ryan. It's hysterical.
But Jason, and for anybody listening, and I do want this advice. Now, listen, I know I sound like a slutty hoe, but people have to understand I am such a prude. I've never, first of all, I've never had a one-night stand. Second of all, I've never met this man, although there are certain things that are kind of a fast lane to understanding each other, because we're both certainly mature. We say we're mature for our age, but we both act like teenagers when we start to talk. We just giggle. We just become the stupidest little things. And Heather's like, slow your roll. But all I'm saying is, what do you think, Jason, my conciliary for the day?
What does he know?
Here's what I'm saying.
What do you think?
I think 52.
What do you think?
Go live your damn life. Go out to New York City. Go have a great time. But here's my only thing. I would say in business, in interviews, or even just dating. Everyone gets so tense and they get so tight because what I would say is happening, like even in an interview or a speech or anything, or just meeting someone for the first time. The tension is so high because there's so many, what I'll call like threats. There's so many threats you don't know you're uncomfortable. It's like someone knocks on your door trying to sell you something. The reason they're so unsuccessful is because they don't, like, you just like get off my door. I would just say in any of those situations, do everything you can to just get those walls down. Like, it's easy. Like,
come on, you're so cute.
Do things to relax.
That is the last advice Heather wants you to tell me. Heather is like sitting here in a panic. She's like, tell Ann to relax. Please don't put your walls up. Do not fall in love with this guy. He is the first person from Raya. Oh my God, it doesn't matter. He has his own company. She's like, Jason, tell her to shut her legs and shut her mouth and hope to make it through the weekend.
By the way, I don't have to shut my legs. But listen, the problem is she has no walls. So she'll go in there.
I'm a little bit see-through.
Opposite.
She has no
she'll be like, I love you. Let's go. Like, watch the next interview we have with you. We'll be like,
Jason,
Ann's doing it remotely from Greece.
Jason, this is going to be a continuing saga. Now you're the first person I said that I was dating on Raya, and you told me to go and let down my walls, and Heather says to go and put up some. So we are now, the next time we come back with Jason on the first, but he's now going to be my love doctor.
A little half wall. Like, I mean,
I can jump over that fence, motherfucker.
Yeah.
Oh, what? Give me a hedge. I got a ladder. I don't even know what's happening to me. I'm talking like a ridiculous. I swear to God, I'm getting up.
So when is it's this week?
We have two podcasts on Friday. So we shoot with you today, and we've got, thank God, if I ever get my head out of my ass, gay dinner party tonight. Thank God. And then probably trying to get a manicure pedicure so I look somewhat decent.
How many days are you going for?
She doesn't have a return ticket.
No. But here's why. Because we didn't want to go like, oh, it should be 4 days or whatever. Like, it might want to be a day. Like, okay, see you. Like, you're
packing your passport, aren't you?
I'm packing my passport. He's taking me to Europe. He wants to go to Mykonos, and then he wants to take me to Santorini, and then he talked about going to maybe something to Cop. And I was like, the fuck is to Cop? And he's like, oh, you've never been to any of these places. I'm like, dude, I have traveled where I've been sent on my trips, and I take my children anytime I can, and the people that I support. So I've been supporting like 2 families my whole life. But a fucking vacation just for the hell of it. I was like, are you rich or something? He's like, don't worry, I have the money for travel. You won't have to be pulling out your credit card.
Oh my God. Well, you know what? You guys might want to record 8 episodes tomorrow because you might be gone for a while.
I was like, welcome to Better Together with Heather. No. It rhymes. My name rhymes. So it works. Welcome to Better Together with Heather.
Or you just bleep out my name, Better Together with and Heather. Jason, I might need you to come on and co-host.
You got to bring him on the.
Oh my God!
You got to interview him.
Oh, I'm tearing up. I got the Jason Tartick thumbs up. When we come back, we're going to like get on to what is really important, and let's talk about some money with Jason Tartick.
Let's do it.
Cheers.
I love how everybody is just thinking that I'm just such a slutty hoe that I'm just going to go marry this guy in Santorini, and you're right. No, but I think it is something as we do get into this, and thank you for giving me the pleasure of having that conversation. It does I do feel a little bit jittery and a little bit teenagery, but in a more serious moment of getting into really what finances are, the fact of the matter is I have been the breadwinner for my family since I was 12. And being that consistent in my life with having, again, I'm going to ask your advice on this, Jason. the ability to let go and let someone take care of you is a very different scenario than I've been in before. And not that that's this situation, because it's not. But of course, as I'm going on in 52, we are talking about, and I know, and I would love
This
for
is really
you.
relatable. So everybody who has a billionaire out there who wants to take care of you, like, what is your advice?
He hasn't said that yet.
What is your advice, Jason, if I find a man that just wants to completely take care of me? How do you suggest I go about that?
No. That's actually wasn't my question, although that would be amazing.
Jet, go on his
and
yacht.
do it. Got it. I got the advice I want. You guys take it away for the rest of the show, because that's all I wanted to hear. Bam, bada bing. I'll see you later. Mic drop.
I'll say this though. I think to your point, right? Not everyone's dating a billionaire, but it doesn't matter if you're making, I think, like $50,000 a year, or you're making millions and millions and millions of dollars a year. I will say that one thing that happens in most relationships, and we've kind of talked about it a little bit here, but not in depth, is that what usually the breadwinner, not usually, most often, and this shouldn't happen, will use the leverage of their money as a source of power for other things.
Yes.
Like when they're in an argument, the way they talk, the way they tone, they're demanding, right? So my whole thing is, irregardless of who the breadwinner is, everyone needs to bring some type of value to the relationship, whatever it may be.
It's my tips.
Right? You're a stay-at-home mother. You are a hero. Think about what you do every day. Think about the cost of that care. Think about the education that's going to impact that kid, because you're teaching them and reading to them. And so I would never let anybody, regardless if you're the stay-at-home mom or you are the billionaire, to use money as a leverage tool to take power in other ways in the relationship.
He's just going to power me to Greece.
I'm so glad you said that. I'm so glad you said that, Jason, because I actually was for an entire decade a stay-at-home mother.
Yes.
And my ex, the key word there is ex, did that, made me feel bad about it.
That's right.
Made me feel less than about it. And by the way, in that time, I felt like, obviously I'm taking care of the kids.
Yeah.
I did start a school because we couldn't afford private
Largemont
school.
Charter, started by Heather Duffy.
But I also felt like my other job, which will actually segue into what we're talking about, was because I wasn't making money, I found that it was my responsibility to find ways to save money. And I did feel
really interesting.
like by finding ways to save money was my contribution. My ways to save money was to just deny myself anything and everything.
Well, exactly. You didn't do anything.
I got
like
lice getting my hair colored because I went to such a gross place.
This is one of the things that we've talked about too. We put ourselves and I was the breadwinner. But for any personal thing that I would want, never. And we joked about this when we started our partnership a couple of years ago. It was so funny when we wanted to do something special. We were going on an interview, and I was like, "Let's go let's go get something special. Like, let's go buy something." And the two of us had never been shopping before for ourselves. Certainly, never have gone together. And we were in Santa Barbara, and we walked into a store like, are we going to let ourselves, we're 50-year-old women, or of course I'm always older than Heather, but walking into a shop and never having, that's true, a moment to celebrate giving something to ourselves. And I think the sacrifice that moms make in the stay-at-home moms, which I was never able to be that, but I took on both responsibilities somehow. I didn't get the relief of anybody I didn't make somebody feel bad for the fact that I was making the money, but I did also feel so guilty about not being able to be there for my kids. I was always kind of balancing that. I still am. I'm just starting to kind of get out of it, but I still have another kid to put through school. But what I love about what you talked about was the finances and the giving of them come in a bunch of different forms. And not only was Heather like not allowing herself to have any pleasures with whatever the finances were, you were friggin' raising those kids every friggin' morning, getting up. I mean, when Jason talks about the hours, if you logged the hours of time spent for a mother.
Now I still do. My kids are just older, and I work now full time.
Right.
Sure.
But because my kids are older, I'm able to do that. So now I actually do it all. Now I'm 100% responsible for them, and But it is.
No, I think that's a good point, right? And it's something that we got to get, I think, just have to get comfortable with, because if you look at all the statistics, especially for women in business women in really any position, they are all trending to create like equality across all lines, right? So if you look at leadership positions in the Fortune 500, how many leadership positions are slowly being acquired by females?
Yeah.
If you look at how many females are having babies at later ages because of developments in science, because they're putting their career first,
Yeah.
that is increasing. Marriage rates are increasing, and income rates are slowly increasing as well. So that shift is happening. We're seeing it. We're living it, and it's something everyone's going to have to get comfortable with. And it shouldn't have anything to do with sex. It should have to do with conversation within your relationship to say, hey, this is what we make. This is how we make it. What value are you bringing to the table?
Yeah.
And how are we doing this equally? Because there is no, just because you bring in more money does not mean you bring in more value to the family, to the relationship, or anything of that nature.
Could you repeat that, Jason? I'm sorry. I think the women listening need to hear that again.
Yeah, just because you don't make the money or bring in more money does not mean that you bring less value into your relationship.
That is important.
That is, I mean, live that, know that. And if you're with someone that thinks that, it's going to take a serious, first think through how you're going to put it together, but you have to have a serious conversation to draw that line in the sand, because there's got to be things that you're doing that are contributing to everyone's success.
Wow.
And so that's just a big part of it.
So beautiful. Such great advice to have that conversation as
I was
well,
going to say, if I could go back in time and at the onset of having kids and my marriage, I would have made it really clear what my value was, what
Yes.
I was contributing, what it would actually cost to have full-time
Right.
childcare,
Which you never
because my
did.
spouse was in the film industry that he was not there for
Never came home
breakfast
for a
or
dinner.
He was never
Sure.
neither one. So it was a very hard thing for me to work at that
And even
time.
the time, think about if he had to be there because you couldn't make the dinner because you were out working. Think about how much less time he was then working and how much less value he'd be outputting and how much less money he would have as a result of that.
That's
Right.
Like, those are huge conversations that aren't happening that gotta happen.
Well, right, and look, I'm going to be really
So
honest about
true.
it. What actually happened? I didn't intend to go here, but I'm going to. What actually happened in my marriage was when that shifted, and when I did go back to work, and I had to go back to work a little sooner than I wanted to because of the recession. I was working and taking care of the kids, and then the part that was required to like build him up and lift him and all of that excess work, I just didn't have the bandwidth for it anymore. Like my job, I didn't feel like my job anymore was to build him up
Right.
in that way.
Right.
And so that it kind of, we kind of fractured because of that. So I'm actually not opposed to the traditional roles of somebody taking care of the kids and somebody working. I think that if you have an agreement about it,
Yes.
and are really clear on it, I think that it can work.
Well, I think it can too. And this goes back to our very first conversation that we had with Jason, where we would talk about making agreements with who we are. And when we, sitting down and having this table, I think it's a real big deal that you encourage that, Jason, because I hope that we are reaching the next generation, a younger generation than my old self, to be able to start these conversations, because what happens is they begin to develop good habits. And when you develop the good habits in that conversation, we get to then it keeps us further away from the stuff that we're talking about when we get into debt, when we're not talking honestly about our finance, we're not talking honestly about what we're putting on our credit cards, we're not talking honestly about how we're getting over the stuff that we're going through, not feeling appreciated, so I'm going to go out and buy that dress. It all lines up together. It all becomes a part of a package of self-esteem, putting yourself in order to be able to share it, and also look for the agreement from our partners. And even though we talk about this as being a financial show, it really is lined up on all levels. Don't you think? I feel like they're all intertwined here.
100%. The problem is in life, too many people look at these silos, right? Like, this is my finances and this is it. This is my career and this is it. This is my personal life. This is it. And how many people do you see out there that really have their finances together, but their personal life is a disaster? disaster.
Yep.
Or they have their career together, but they're not focused at all on their finances. And I could keep giving examples, but everyone treats those as silos. And to your point, Ann, they are not silos, right? When you can get comfortable having conversations with your partner about how much money you make, but what value you're bringing, you could have those conversations that are uncomfortable with your boss. You could have those conversations with yourself and your money. So all these things bleed into one another, and you have to look, I think everyone has to look at their entire life as like this like universal picture of all areas, because if you're unhappy professionally, you're going to perform poorly in any type of financial management. If you're unhappy or not satisfied with your finances, your personal life, you're going to be sacrificing things, and they are all as one and need to be managed as like a whole picture, because the way you treat each individual areas of your life will all come together as one way or another.
So it's so fun to listen to you. Can I ask you a personal question?
Yeah, for sure.
How did you get to this? Were you raised in, because your stability is unique, and I would say your point of view on accessing all arenas of your life to be a part of one life and not compartmentalizing, not doing the silo act that like, this part I'm really good at and this part I really suck at. Were you encouraged that way? Because I have to tell you, I have told my son Homer, who is 19 years old, to listen to every single one of your shows. I've told him to listen to your podcast, and I've told him to listen to What Happens Here, because your intelligence around both money and love, I would say, relationship and success and investment is all combined. And I think it's one of the most unique voices for young men and women, by the way, but I just happen to have a young man. Where was that born of? Were you encouraged to be this? Can you give us a little bit of your personal history, Jason?
Yeah. I think I have two answers to this. The first answer is one. I guess it's more of uncontrollable if other people are looking for advice, and I got lucky and was born into it. But I was born into a family with a Jewish liberal mother, conservative Catholic father, and a gay brother. And so he was extremely into arts, and I was extremely into sports. We're total opposites. My parents are both like very alpha. They have strong personalities. They're opinionated, but they disagree in a lot. And they're celebrating their 37th anniversary coming up here September 2nd. So
congratulations,
it was interesting
to
like live in this like growing up in this family where everybody was different, but everyone was heard, and everyone had a different role, but everyone did it differently. And we all, like, our dinner conversations were wild because we each had different perspectives, but we brought value to one another extremely well. And that's something that is like bled into my life. But the one thing that the second part I'll give to you that is controllable for anyone listening is the importance. And the older I get, by the day, the better I get at this. The importance of surrounding yourself and finding ways to gravitate towards individuals who challenge you, who are different than you, who bring value to your life is so important, because it's such a common theme and something that's talked about forever. You're the sum of the people around you, but it is so true. If you are surrounding yourself with the same like-minded individuals that do the same repetitive behaviors over and over, and they all have the same outcomes, that will, without a doubt, be your life.
You're right.
That'll be your life.
You're right.
That is great
advice. That is such great advice.
We're lucky to surround ourselves with you, and our listeners are lucky.
That's so nice.
To that.
I feel the same way.
Better together
with Jason Tartick.
See, I wish I was at the gay dinner tonight. We could have a blast.
Oh,
We'd have all
honey, we would throw it
people,
down. You have no idea. We are going to throw you the gayest party that ever was when you come out here, and we're going to fly your brother in to come and greet you.
There we go.
No, we have a location. We have to take Caitlin and Jason to Cicada.
Oh, we're we're going to go swing dancing, for God's sake.
It's an old supper club downtown that is fantastic. It's fascinating. It's like a step back in time.
Let's get them to come and be our cicada, come and be our sponsors.
Done.
Here.
We're in.
When we come back, I hate to tell it, but we are going to talk about taxes.
Yes.
Oh, man.
All right, so here we are.
We're talking about budgeting, and
we're talking about a lot of things. We were talking about relationship. We're talking about a whole bunch of just wisdom from Jason. Oh, really,
when
really
I was
happy
listening
about
to
that.
Jason's episode with Girl with No Job,
Here we go.
her name is Girl with No Job.
Yes.
She makes bank. And she talked about when she started making money, she had her first Instagram post and she made $1,000.
Yeah.
And she went out and bought a pair of boots.
Yeah.
Forgetting that 500 of that should be saved for taxes.
Yes.
And that is something that we can relate to because I can relate to. I hate taxes.
I can relate.
Taxes was one of those things for me that I was always, again, I said I was a stay-at-home mom.
Yeah.
So I was, just joint taxes with my husband.
Yes.
And then when I started my business, I had no clue
Yeah.
what to do.
Yeah.
And I recently, even Faux Pod, when we started our business, I filed for it in October, an LLC.
Yeah.
And I shouldn't have. I should have waited till the new year because I had to pay $800 for those 2 months that I filed. If anybody is filing for a business, don't do it at the end. Wait till the beginning of the year because you still
we got boned the 800. But I think taxes are one of the scariest things ever because you get a paycheck and you go, yes, this is mine. It's very difficult to train your mind to go, hey, no, it's not. And let's
talk about budgeting for taxes. What are like the general rules of how much we should budget for taxes? And I know it varies whether you're an independent contractor, if because before I had a job and they just took it out and it was very simple. But
right.
Yeah. I think the big thing with taxes, so we could probably get in the weeds and spend several podcasts on taxes.
Yes, I think we
tax
could.
strategy and there's specifics. But if we keep it higher level, the thing is you really want to understand your state income taxes and your federal income taxes. And so those are going to be drastically different based on where you live, right? So if you're in New York or California, those are the highest tax states next to like Oregon and Minnesota as well. So those are ones like you got to be aware of.
How's Tennessee? Do you need some neighbors?
Pretty. He's sitting pretty in Tennessee.
Yeah, no state income tax here. No state income. Tennessee, Texas, Washington, Nevada, Florida, and there's one more.
Not that he hasn't researched.
South Dakota, I think.
Wow.
But yeah, so if you're in one of those, there's no state income tax. So you got to understand what that is, and then also your federal income tax. Now that's going to be anywhere from like 10% up to 37% based on your actual income threshold. So if you do a quick Google search without getting too much in the specifics, you'll see where you stand. A general rule of thumb is if you're in like a 1099 contracting space, if you save 30 to 40%, you should be okay because you also are going to be deducting your income with expenses. But if you save 30 to 40%, you should be good. Now, anybody that's out there that works for a company, right? There should be a payroll company that is doing all this for you. They are deducting your state income tax, your federal income tax, your Social Security, everything. So you should be good to go unless you have made capital gains outside of your W-2 income, which is something people forget. They now have these, we have our trading app. Like you can trade, you can make money there. You might have real estate. You might have sold some type of asset for a gain. Those obviously are not going to be factored into your W-2, and you better be damn ready for it because the government will come finding that money if you haven't set it aside. So like the golden safe rule is 30 to 40%. If you heard Girl with No Job, she said 50% of everything she makes now goes away. She doesn't look at it. She doesn't see it. She puts it away just because she had some tax issues early.
She said it was an automatic thing, right? That you can set up.
Yeah, you can do that. You can have it ACH. Every time you get paid, 50%, boom, goes into a separate account. So you got to figure what works for you, but 30 to 40% is usually a good play. Also, there are today more than ever, there are so many professionals that are accessible. Like if you go to even as simple as like H&R Block, doesn't matter how much money you're making, they have tax professionals that will come live with you. And if you're making a little bit more and you want to work with someone you can afford a CPA, 100% find a local CPA that works with you because tax strategy is changing by the minute. And I said it on that podcast, like tax strategy year to year, it's like a Bible of all the stuff. Yeah. So having a professional is huge, but getting behind could be ugly. I mean, remember, we talked about this in the podcast too. The guy from a Jersey Shore, he went to jail. He was $8.7 million of income that wasn't reported and went to jail.
Wow, that's I wish I had $8.7 million. Now, but can I ask you just honestly, like, do you think this is fair? I think it's really hard for people to get any savings. I mean, especially when you're looking at your paycheck, you go, okay, I'm going to take that 40 to 50% because I want to be surprised at the end. Like if you put away 50%, you're like, ooh, maybe I don't have to pay 50% of everything, but everything else is going toward I don't want my money, I'll just say it, to go to making weapons. I have no control over that. But
sure.
But tax action is, first of all, jailable, if you don't pay. But the amount of heartbreak that goes like, wow, I think one of the biggest bridges for me to Gap was they're telling me I make a certain amount, but I'm not making it.
Well, but that's what the girl on your podcast said. I'm sorry, I keep saying girl with no job, but I forgot her name. What's her?
Claudia O'Shea.
She said, Claudia said she just had to get her brain around the fact that she didn't make that. She made half of that.
That's the thing. It's the training of your brain. Like, no, your job actually pays you half. They're telling it's giving you a number, but it's
not your number. It's what it costs to live in the United States.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is so 100% true. And Claudia is such a good example of that. And there are different things. I mean, there's two ways to kind of come up against this, right? There's two things you could do to save money. It's very basic. Find ways to make more money and then find ways to spend less. But then in between, there's a little gray area. And there's things you could do from a strategy perspective that'll help you save money. In that gray area, the tool of a 401k is just so important, right? Because if you make $100,000, okay, let's say you make $100,000 a year. If you put 10,000 of that into your 401k, first of all, you just saved $10,000. Second of all, you are taxed on your gross income subtracted by that deduction. So you just put 10K in, you're now only taxed on 90,000, right? Mm-hmm. So you just saved 10K. You're now being taxed less because that 10K went away and that is a reduction in your income, and you're finding ways to save for your future. Mm-hmm. So there's a big gray area, and that's where I think the wealthy, the extremely wealthy, the wealthy have really nailed the gray area. They focused on the three things of making more money, spending less, and nailing that gray area.
Yeah, and the trick is having enough to be able to put that away.
I mean, it's all such sound advice.
But even if it's $100, right? Even if
that's why. Okay, so let's talk about
really cool. Let's talk about
the Fintron app for a minute that I downloaded and used. And so so when you go and you do that and you put in all of your finances and everything, then it basically tells you how much you have to invest, and it will invest it right there for you.
Yes.
It really like it tells you the percentage of what you're spending on housing, the percentage of what you're spending anywhere. Once you go through and you fill out everything, and then they tell you how much you've got left, or you say I want to put 5% of what I have left towards it, and then it goes from there. But it does all the math for you.
Yeah, it does. And so there's two takeaways from that I want to talk about. So one is dollar cost averaging. This is where
I was talking about that yesterday.
I was
Come on, make us understand your language, Jason.
Dollar cost averaging. We'll hit this in the investing section, but essentially you'll decide how much you'll invest on a certain period of time. So let's say it's $100 the first of the month every month, and you'll do it the first of the month every single month. And it's a way, because the market's up and down, it's a way to protect against that. That's one. And the second thing I want to give in regards to the budgeting thing too is there's another app out there that I use constantly, and it's called, and I don't have any affiliation to it. I'm not an investor, I'm not an owner, I'm not sponsored by it at all, but they're called Personal Cap. And so if you are listening to this and you're finding that like you are very elementary with this stuff, you're like, Jason, I don't know. No, not me. The best part about Personal Cap is I know it's secure because I do it and I have all my stuff tied to it. But essentially you log into your bank accounts. Yeah. The rest is done for you. So what it does is it takes all the stuff, how much you spend, how much income, and it gives you reports. It'll tell you, hey, this month you spent more than last month. Hey, this month you're against your budget. But you don't have to do the analytics, because I have all my bank accounts tied into it. So it sees what I'm spending and what's coming in and coming out. And then it gives me updates and reports and stuff like that. So personal cap and then dollar cost averaging are two good ones as well.
Okay, I would just want to know personally because, you make finances fun, okay? It's like, well, I'm not saying it's fun.
Fun adjacent.
It's fun adjacent. That's a great word for it. I mean, it's not like pulling my nails out, but it's close. No, and you always seem so cheerful about it. And I guess I want to talk about the gift at the end of this game. Do you consider yourself a generous person? Like, do you live always wondering about finance and your budgeting? And because I wonder about this too. Like, I'm like, well, I used to be really free and easygoing kind of, and now I'm like, what the hell? I gotta pay attention. What am I doing? I find myself in trouble with back taxes. I find myself in trouble with budgeting. I try to find myself in trouble with, oops, I got, but my Amex was a bigger bill than I wanted. Whatever my individual issues might be or someone's might be. I want to consider myself a fun, generous person. I'm out to dinner. I want to put down my card. I want to be the person who does that, and I've done that my whole life. Are you that kind of person, Jason? Are you always wondering about budget? Would you consider yourself a generous person? How do we live in generosity when we are trying to find a way to budget and save for our families or ourselves, but have that freedom? Because I feel like emotionally there's some kind of block between those two, and I want to know how to manage them.
Yeah, I think that's such a good point. And I was that 21 years old when I didn't have a penny. I was the guy opening every tab. Come by on me, let's party and have fun. And I am still a generous person. But what I started to realize is that when I was being generous and generous and generous, my generosity became stupid. And I hate to say that, but it did, because the same people that I was going out with every day and every time, when are you guys, no one ever picked up anything.
Yeah.
And that doesn't mean that it has to be equal to the penny. That's not what it's about.
No.
But you have to look for reciprocation, I think, in these situations that you're not being taken advantage of.
Yeah.
I have no problem spending money in the areas that drive happiness for me.
Yeah.
Sometimes it is taking a couple buddies out that I've known forever for a really nice steakhouse. Like, that brings me joy. That brings me happiness. But if I'm going to do that, there's probably going to be something I'm thinking about, like maybe I'll pull back here a little bit this week or something of that nature. So it's not totally streamlining everything. It's being aware, though. How many times are you aware? I just spent $800 on a dinner.
Yes.
So now I'm going to adjust things a little.
Well, guess what? We're adjusting tonight by having the gay dinner party at my house rather than going out to dinner.
Well, because we went to Mr. Chow, but you're right.
That's why we're having dinner at my house.
We're having dinner at your house, and I love it. But it's that because we as a company, Heather and I as a company, wanted to, and we did, and we splurged, and we took our friends to Mr. Chow, a gorgeous place, Beverly Hills.
We had done really well, and then the dinner was almost over, and then somebody else joined us, and then we did the dinner all over again.
Yeah, and so that's what boned us. That right there, that choice. That's why we're having dinner at Heather's tonight.
Anne saw sake going by. She's like, "What's that?
That looks pretty.
We want some of that." And then then I was dancing in the streets in Beverly Hills,
which was very fun. And I do have to say it was an experience.
And one of them put it on my Instagram, and I didn't know until later, and I
love that.
But
I deleted it.
I mean, but they were like, they're like memories of. I'm one to get caught. I'm one to get tripped up in that.
But get tripped up. Like, enjoy it. Get tripped up in it. Enjoy it. The only thing in life is, like, with finances, just be aware. If there's someone who's charging you something for something, think through it a little bit. If you're going to spend $2,000, $3,000, whatever the dinner was.
It was not a pretty number, and I feel very blessed to say that. Just for our listeners, I mean, I think sometimes I like to ground down, like, here's the deal. I know it's a really wild thing to hear somebody say that Heather and I spent $900 on dinner. That sounds insane, and it is, and you're right, and I feel very blessed to be able to say that we even have that opportunity. I understand how bizarre that is. In some worlds, that doesn't make much sense, but if you live in Beverly Hills, it apparently does.
Beverly Hills, it's like $100 for a glass of wine.
That's right, and that's why, that's right. Thank you for saying so, because that's why I live downtown.
But I'm glad that you brought that up, because again, and I don't always mean to harp on the recession, but it was a thing for me.
Yeah.
And I remember that was one of the most difficult things for me, was that I didn't have the ability to do that in any way anymore.
That's right.
And
it's
heartbreaking.
I couldn't.
I remember once people were, chipping in $500 on a gift for somebody who was turning 40, and I was just like, I can't. How do I do this? I can't give them my credit card. I don't like. I was in that much of a pickle.
Yes.
And so it is a thing. It is a privilege to be able to be in that position, and to recognize people who aren't in that position doesn't mean that they're not generous. It just means that they just can't.
Well, and it's also going back to everything that we're talking about too. Once you start in the beginning of your agreements, you can get away with being. When you start talking about money, the shyness around money stops having an impact the way that it normally does. It makes your conversations with your partner, if you happen to have one, easier. With your business partner, like you and I, are easier, because you're going toward the same goal, and setting those goals is a part of the agreement principle that we talk about. It really helps if you, first of all, tell the truth. Second of all, set goals for yourself and your relationships or whatever it is. And one of those goals being just mainly, let's tell the truth about what our money is right now. Because sometimes it comes and whacks you in the side of the head, which has happened with them. Like, whoa, we don't have that. And how do we do that? But if our intent is clear, and of course, when we talk about that in love relationship, money relationship, whatever. I know, Jason, that you do a game called Over Under. Is that correct?
I do. Can I say one last thought, because I don't want to lose it?
You can say anything you
want.
want.
Too. I think it's important to know too that just because I don't think the income will dictate your financial success. I say that because you look at like NFL players, and the stat, I wish I had it in front of me right now and I don't remember it, but I think it was 72%, either 72 or 74 of NFL players experience financial stress.
Oh my God.
So, and you look at the average salary, right? How much these people are making. So at all levels, your generosity can catch up to you if you're not aware. And I'll end it with that. But I'm ready to go to over under if you guys are ready.
Let's go to over under. But awareness, everybody, awareness leads to truth and agreements with others. Thank you. Awareness, be aware. Good word for the day.
I love it. All right, here's what we're going to do. Okay. We'll do, because I got a bunch of them in front of me. All right, we'll do that one, 2, we'll do let's do 3.
I'm starting to get a panic. It's almost like going on a
5.
date.
We're going to do 5 questions, okay? It's very simple. Heather, and all you have to do, you and Heather, have to just write over or under. That's it.
Okay, now do we show each other's answers or no?
You don't. I'm going to give you a statistic.
Okay.
And all you're going to say is the number over or under what I said, and it'll be Ann versus Heather. And what we'll call, we might need a name for this down the road. But we'll call it the dollar bills, y'all. Budgeting over under. Here we go. Over or under. 38% of Americans who have an idea of how much they spent last week. Over or under, more or less. On the count of 3.
Less.
38%.
Oh,
1,
sorry.
2, 3.
I already was with you.
Okay, they both went less. All right. Incorrect.
Really?
65% of Americans do not know how much they spend.
That's what I thought we were saying. No. That's what I thought we were saying.
Oh, there's a little confusion there.
No. Okay. I definitely thought we were way under thinking that. So I didn't understand the over
because I'm thinking 38%, so less would be less.
All right, let's do that.
Okay, so you both got it right.
All right, we've got it right.
Ding, ding, ding.
Okay.
Ryan,
I'm going to be a little bit more specific.
Are you playing with us, Ryan? Ryan's playing with us today, gang. Here we go.
On question number 2. Ryan's in the game
1,
too.
2,
All
3, like rock, paper, scissors.
Okay.
The average American spends more or less than $6,169 on food in a year.
Wait, what do we do?
More is
the average American. Yep. So if you think if they spend more, you'll go thumbs up. If you think they spend less.
Okay. More than 6,000?
Yep. $6,169. 1, 2, 3. Both went over. Both are correct.
Okay, but we've got Ryan here. Ryan, our producer, yes.
Ryan's winning too.
Ryan went up. We're winning too. Do we get $1 for this?
The literacy is getting there.
We get a gay dinner at Heather's house, which is perfect.
But think about that, guys. That is over. That's about $600-$700 a month. People are spending on food. So that's a good way. Food and beverage usually have the highest markups in the United States. So when you're spending that outside, be aware.
When you're in Beverly Hills and you spend $100 on a glass of wine and you're stupid for doing it and you're laughing your ass off because you're too drunk to admit it. That's
why you always get the bottle. You never get a glass.
Okay, I love that. Here we go. Over, under, we got it tied up 2-2. 35% of Americans have a long-term financial plan. Is it less than 35%? Is it more than 35%? Have a long-term financial plan.
Okay, ready?
On 3. 1, 2, 3. Both you two are in unison, and you are correct.
Ryan is correct.
Ryan is correct too.
What?
Wait,
And
there
Ryan's
he
correct
comes.
too. 3 for 3.
Wait, that's less than 30% of Americans
Only
know
th-
that.
I don't.
That is less than 30% of Americans know about their future. That's a rough. That's
Less
fucking.
than 30%.
Oh, come on, that's hard to know. That's hard.
I'm banking on Ann marrying the Ryan guy.
Exactly.
That's my financial
Oh my God, I think
retirement plan.
I think I need to get the Ryan guy.
Whatever,
Ryan. Well, whatever
All right.
it is, I better get on a plane fast. Okay, go.
Like I said, guard down.
I'm
Question 4. You guys are all tied up. 3-3-3. Heather.
I'm gonna win.
And Ryan.
And by the way, the only
Question
reason we know we
4.
can answer these, and by the way, this is true, the only reason we're answering these
'Cause
anywhere
we're these
near
people.
correctly is because he's taught us how we are not dealing
no, 'cause
honestly
we're
with our
every one of them.
finances.
We're every single one of them.
I know, we are the truth. Okay,
the
here we
truth.
go. Okay, go.
Here we go.
Oh, shit.
40% of Americans have less than $457 in savings. So, is that number over 457 or under 457? 40% of Americans have less than $457 in their savings. Is that number over 457 or is it under on 3? Here we go. 1, 2, 3. They did it again.
Ryan has his up.
correct.
Ryan's up. Ryan's up.
Ryan's out.
Ryan.
There we
gone.
go. Ryan is up. That is 40% of Americans, ready for this?
Yes.
Have less than $300 in their savings.
Oh my
More
God,
for
right.
budgeting.
It was
I've
wishful
been there.
thinking.
We'll do a bonus
don't-
round.
oh,
Or
man.
no, this is question 5. We'll do one more. How about
All right,
that?
one more.
You've already lost.
One more for the win.
Actually,
You
here.
could tie.
How about we do this? Ryan's out. Here's what we're going to do for the bonus round because you two are on the same page. You spend maybe too much time together. I tell you what.
Double or
here
nothing.
we go.
Oh.
This is a big number, okay? And I'll give you a hint. The answer is crazy enough. It's in the billions.
Okay.
So it is over at least 1 billion. Here's the question. You got to write it down.
Oh, we got to write it down?
The lack of financial literacy has cost Americans in total, right? So you think about how much the lack of financial literacy for each person in America, you sum it up, in total has cost Americans in the year 2020, which obviously was a big year with a lot of change. The lack of financial literacy cost Americans as a whole, the whole country.
I'm afraid.
In 2020, the hint is it's in the billions. Write your answer down.
How
think
many
about
billions?
How many billions you're asking
I
it
can't
costs
tell you.
for
You
us
gotta
to have
And
non-financial
that was a big
literacy? That is, oh my God.
lack
oh my
of
God.
financial
The
literacy.
lack of financial literacy. And by the way, that is just sad right in of itself because we should have an education system that teaches us understanding of our finances so that we would never understand what $250 billion in debt because of our lack of it means. That's what I'm guessing, 250 bill.
Okay, 250 bill. That's Ann's answer.
10. I'm 10 billion.
10 billion. The answer. $450 billion. Unbelievable.
I lost. I hate losing.
Yeah, I beat you.
Take the population of the United States, no
can you
age
believe
requirement.
that?
They're saying on average at least 16.
Yeah, you were a couple 100,000 of that.
Per person.
I wish.
$415 billion Americans
you were.
lost and were impacted because of lack of financial literacy.
You were a couple $100,000 in.
I'm right. I'm a part of that mess. Just so you know, I'm here to admit it. Like I'm a believer.
I am too. I mean, who isn't?
But
clearly, who isn't?
What I want to know,
billion.
we're going to sum this up. But I think you used a term that was called financial literacy. And financial literacy, and I know Heather and I talk a lot about education. For God's sake, she started this gorgeous charter school that does teach people to come with their hearts and understand how to look at children as unique individuals and come together and power them up.
Well,
through
no,
their
what
strengths.
it is, it's to learn through doing. It's project-based learning, which is what this is. Like, because what
right.
Jason does is he makes it applicable to our lives so we understand
so that
it.
we understand. And so to me, financial literacy, so if that was for 2020, and that's $400 billion. Wow. And we think about how much goes towards education, which is absolutely zero. So if we look at the 0% quotient of education in our schooling systems, if we would put financial literacy as a class, which is what my son Homer, by the way, if you start learning about numbers at an early age and they're comfortable and they also make fun life for you, because then you understand things and we understand the gift of it, then our financial literacy grows and we don't waste $400 billion. Imagine what is that debt over years and years and years and years and years. But what we're not consuming is the information that says, therefore, financial literacy needs to go into schools so we don't waste $450 billion. One of the things that you talk about with budget is to say, you know what, look at what you're doing. And then if you spend $800 on a dinner with 10 guys, you go, great, I'm going to pull back a little on the whatever it is. I'm not going to order in food with my loved one Friday night. I'm going to cook dinner instead. Whatever that is, and however you balance. But financial literacy, to me, one of the things that's most phenomenal about this is that we're literally cutting off our legs because we do not teach financial literacy. So we're wasting money every day in our education system that you're just saying is like billions and billions and billions of dollars, which why don't we just get a better school system and then we wouldn't even be in that debt? Why don't people look at that, Jason?
I don't, you know what? It's a scary thought, and it's something that has to change drastically.
400.
I did see in Canada, they're starting to make adjustments. In Canada, they're starting to put it in the curriculum. And so to me, that was like a big win, and the United States needs to do the same.
Feels like-
Needs
And
to
by
be
the
a
way,
mandatory class.
Mandatory class. And by the way, a fun class, because what we're trying to do is put a joy into understanding and having more knowledge. That's what we do on Better Together. That's what we're doing with Jason Tartick. That's what Jason Tartick is doing in the world. We are trying to put a literacy around finance with a stellar teacher and host to us and Jason, and teaching us more and more every day so that we feel more empowered by our numbers and our empowerment through the knowledge of what we're learning from you. We could not thank you enough. Do you have an assignment for us this week, sir?
I am going to put an assignment out there. So now about the budgeting, how do we feel? Do we want to keep tackling budgeting or where do we want to go? You tell me from a subject perspective.
I think budgeting is an ongoing journey. I am certainly looking it out.
I think that we'll revisit it throughout the process.
Yes.
I think that you're right.
Yes. Is there another topic that we would like to add to it as we look at our budgeting?
We'll talk about financial products to analyze. Let's do that.
Oh,
right?
Okay.
So what I want you guys to do is I want you to give me 5 financial products that you have.
Okay,
so
what does
I'll
that
give you an
mean?
example. It
We
could
don't
be
even
anywhere
know
from
what a
3
financial product is.
That's what I'm asking.
Yep, so I'm going to tell you. It could be anywhere from 3 to 5 financial products.
Okay.
A financial product would be anything as a credit card.
Oh, I have
it
one
could
of
be
those.
a checking account. It could be a
I have one of
savings
those.
account. It could be a mortgage. It could be an auto loan. It can be any form of that you have within your financial world.
Okay.
And I want you to tell me the name of it. I want you to tell me the company it's with. And maybe if it's a credit card, maybe there's benefits.
Yeah.
I want you to tell me the fee, and I want you, if it's a loan or it's an investment like a savings account, I want you to tell me the rate.
Okay.
Oh my God.
So those are the things I want.
Okay.
In advance from you guys, what I'll need is just the product. So all you have
Like,
to
I
say
need
is
your
mortgage
checking
loan,
account number?
credit code, auto loan. What I'm going to do is once I have that, I'm going to do the research on my back end, and I'm going to find the best products out there.
Oh my God.
And I'm going to compare how much you're missing versus the best products out there. And then I'm going to show people different sites and places they can go to know if they have the best product.
Oh my God, that's so cool. So I can use the Geico that I just got from my mini, and I can, and I'm going to give you that as one of my
Home insurance
financial
could be
products.
one.
Okay, good.
Auto insurance.
And then did I get the best rate? Because that's really funny because I was looking at that because I just went from a Mini to the Cooper or whatever. But I was wondering if I just went for the Geico thing because it was easy. And I wonder if I got the best for my financial product. So we'll see.
And it could be the lease you pay on your car. It could be the payment you pay on your car. Whatever. It could be the amount you buy your car. You guys tell me 3 to 5, anything financial related. You just tell me what the products are. And I'm going to do the research to see if you're getting a good deal or bad deal based on the research I can do.
We'll give you that in advance.
I love it. We will give you that. Jason Tartick, there is no better member of our tribe than the leader of our finance. Thank you so much. Until next time, everybody, live in loving kindness.
And don't be a dick.
We love you.
Woo.
And a big thanks to our Better Together team, Ryan Tillotson, Sebastian Alcala, Daniel Ferreira, and of course, Ann and Heather. If you haven't already, please subscribe on whatever device or platform you're listening to this on. And as always, see you next week.
We're better together.